Hello, this is Greg Allison, Green Greg's, coming to you on the 11th of February, 2021. Time on deck is 21:28 Central Standard Time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just come out that Iran has produced nuclear-grade atomic materials. We're talking bomb-making materials. And this just came out yesterday, as reported by the IAEA. So we're going to get into that. What you need to know is that this puts us in a whole different regime. And also it means that the likelihood of a strike from Israel upon Iran has probably just gone up quite a bit. Many of you know that Israel was just waiting to see if Biden was going to re-enter the JPOA agreement with the Joint Comprehensive Plan with Iran on the nuclear materials enrichment. And if it looked like they were talking about hitting Iran. They may do it anyway. And this could still have blowback on us because still Iran considers Israel to be kind of a client of ours. So the tensions are ratcheting up once again. And I'm gonna go into that. I'm also going to talk about a former IAEA official. That's the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA. How one of their former officials claims that even a strike from Israel is going to do nothing but slow things down. So we're in a new time, a time of danger with international tensions. Iran and Israel, China and India, China and us. Tensions are going off the charts. Oh, and everything's just peachy here in the United States. Everybody's getting along so fine. Wow. So my friends, you ought to know by now, you ought to be prepping. You should be piling your preps high to the rafters with everything going on. I do a lot of videos telling you how to eat from the weeds in the trees, and you need to consider those and go look at those and how to grow your own garden, because you do need to grow your own food. And if you look at these videos, you'll learn a lot about how to sustain yourself on your own place, even in your living room, and grow food. I've got videos on that. So subscribe to my channel, bang the notification bell, and click all. But I do have a special. We have a pretty good special, prepwithgregs.com. Prepwithgregs.com. Go there, links below, and you will find 20% off. You can get either two of these or one of them. Two of them is a month's supply, 4-week supply of food, 2,000 calories a day. This is freeze dried, so it's lightweight. You can carry it. You can pop the top. You can pull out the pouches and throw them in your backpack. You can do all kind of stuff with this. It's wonderful food. It's 2,000 calories per day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. With a deal like this, you'll be a winner. It's about even $8.10, $8.11 per meal right now. But I'd get it before food prices go up again. They had already reduced the specials because they're facing inflation right now. And I did have $100 off deal. That's gone. Well, we have 20% off. I expect the prices will be going up soon. I've already done videos on that. So check it out. When you get into prepwithgreg.com, check the My Patriot Supply logo at the top, click on that, and it takes you into all kind of other prepping supplies that you ought to be aware of. And it's garden time. So also check my link to Tree Leaf Market. You need to get your seeds right now. So let's get on with this. Let's start talking about what's going on with Iran. Yeah, Iran started producing nuclear-grade material, nuclear-grade metal, that is. According to the IAEA confidential report that came out on Wednesday. And what they said is they produced a small amount of that metal, and they reported it to the Wall Street Journal. So Matt got in their hands. And of course, this is in a violation of the 2015 accord, international accord with Iran. The United States wasn't the only signatory nation, by the way. There were European nations in it, so the accord supposedly is still in effect. But when the United States pulled out by the year 2020, Iran said, "Oh well, we're not going to abide by it anymore." Just so happens they were already in violation of it in 2019, and probably even earlier. And that's why the United States pulled out of it, because it was believed that they were already in violation of that agreement. So this report said that Iran produced this stuff on the 8th of February. That report didn't come out yesterday, Wednesday. But they said they produced this metal initially, this uranium metal, on the 8th of February, after importing new equipment for one of its reactors, which is being monitored, of course, by the IAEA. That's a lot of vowels. EIEIO, right? So what they've alleged is they have actually made this move to produce these metals and they're producing stuff in a lot of facilities we're not aware of. But this metal that they're using now goes beyond what they can use in civilian facilities for their nuclear power, which is what they've claimed they were producing. Oh, we're just doing this for our nuclear power, for our reactors. That's what they always claim. Well, this metal they're producing now goes beyond. It has no civilian uses whatsoever. This is heading toward weapon systems. So once these revelations mark one more instance of Iranian efforts to violate the 2015 agreement. And the country has, as I said, reportedly violated in 2019, because in 2019 they were operating 60 of their IR6 advanced centrifuges, which are 10 times more efficient than their 50-60 IR1 centrifuges, which were allowed by that treaty. Those newer ones were not. The 60 IR6s were not allowed by that treaty. Anyway, Tehran has been also developing another centrifuge called the IR9 that is supposedly capable of enriching uranium even 50 times faster than the IR1 centrifuges. So, as we know, in 2020, Iran said, "Oh, we're not going to uphold the terms of this 2015 agreement. We have no limitations now because you took the sanctions off, basically." But like I said, we're already violating what we're seeing here. So, you know, they've just been perhaps moving in the same direction they've always been moving. Because you may say, "Greg, come on, guys, you know, Israel's got all this stuff already. Why do we care?" I'm not even talking about what we care about and what they care about. I'm telling you what Israel says they will strike. Will they? Will they? It's a bluff. Well, they're having meetings on it. They're talking about it. They're looking at the budget side. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So, also, as I mentioned many times, I think the biggest risk to us here in the United States directly is our power grid. Because Iran has already stated that if they got into it with us in any fashion, that they were going to take out our power grid. They've already stated that. In fact, they have the Iranian Revolutionary Guard was told that, hey, you know, there's 9 critical power substations. We can figure out which ones. If we take these 9 out, the whole grid goes down, according to U.S. reports. And he replied, I've already targeted 20. And what he's talking about is with sleeper cells in the United States to do a direct ballistic attack on. Also, we believe that they have the software hacking facilities and may even have things stationed to hit us from offshore from Venezuela. That's a possibility. I've talked about this in other videos, by the way. So, in any event, what they've said is that the Islamic Republic of Iran will end its final limitations on the nuclear fuel, meaning the limitations of the number of centrifuges. They didn't say nothing about better centrifuges. They said number of centrifuges. That's what the Iranians had claimed. In any event, Joe Biden has basically, President Biden has basically said, hey, you got to stop the enrichment before we're going to agree to go back into the deal. So, and you know, so they're kind of loggerheads of what it takes to get back into the deal right now. Each side is at a different place, so they're not going back into the deal just yet. But yeah. So according to U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, the time that it would take Iran, based on public reports, that it would take them to produce enough fissile material for a weapon is down to, we think, a few months. Israel says it's faster than that. That's the Biden Department of State talking there. Or whatever that is or is not worth, that's what they're saying. Okay. Now, here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting. See, what I was telling you is that Israel, has talked about striking Iran in the anticipation that the U.S. may go into this agreement. They've also had a threshold of striking Iran when they got so close to making actual bomb. And that's from Netanyahu. You know, a few years ago, he produced a chart with a bomb on it, picture briefing the United Nations. Well, apparently now they're at about that threshold, and they are making those kind of uranium metals now. So what I'm about to tell you is what the Iranians were talking about before this thing was announced. So Iran's getting kind of a itchy trigger finger. So the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force Chief of Staff, Avi Kochavi, probably not getting his name right, he warned that operational plans to strike Iran's nuclear program were going to be ready if necessary. He said, although whether to use those plans and under what circumstances was a decision to be made by the political echelon, namely prime minister and so forth. But he said this back in January. And then a week later, the prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, Kochavi, and the finance defense ministers, the financial and military officials, took part in a big meeting. They had a large meeting in the prime minister's office to discuss the budget required for a potential strike on Iran. So they're already looking at how to finance. They already got the plans laid of what it would be. So they're already laying out how to finance this strike. So yeah, they're looking at it. But just so happens that Dr. Heinonen, who warned Dr. Heinonen, who is on the Israeli side, but he's also the IAEA. He was a former deputy director of the International Atomic Energy Agency. And what he has said is this. He says, technically, such an attack is feasible, even though several other nuclear sites would be more difficult to attack than others. He said, but the entire matter starts with one thing. You need to know what you're bombing, because if you don't know, you have a serious problem in hands. It's easy to say, hey, we need to bomb Natanz or Fordo. Maybe there are other uranium enrichment facilities. You need to know the status of these facilities. Are they still there? And are we familiar with them? And what he said is that Iran always has a backup plan. So he's really expecting that they are producing stuff at other facilities. He goes on, an airstrike can help buy some time, but it doesn't eliminate the problems. He said, it's important to bear in mind that Iran is not Syria or Iraq. It always has a backup plan. The Iranians don't put all their eggs in one basket. Like he said, don't ever do that. And I'm positive they have taken steps to ensure that parts of the nuclear program will continue to function, even in case of the attack. So they'll still have the metals probably somewhere. So we're trying to, supposedly Israel's trying to take out facilities. But what Dr. Ali Heinonen is saying is that, hey, you're not going to get it all. You're probably not going to get it all, and they'll just keep producing, and then they'll build it back. And then, the chances that they're going to want to have retribution may be even higher. So this is what we're looking at. It's going to be hard to deal with this. And now Heinonen has worked in Iran for over 25 years for the IAEA. He's been in all the underground facilities except Fordo. And he said he was really disturbed by that. He said, from the outset, I felt great discomfort over several aspects of the program. He said, I was at all the nuclear sites except the one in Fordo, and we'd already known about that one for years before my departure. We had good times and more difficult times, ups and downs, but then he goes on to say, where is it here? During one of the visits to the Iraq reactor in 2002, he asked the Iranians about the 1,600 centrifuges at the site. And what they told him, they've never been used. We've never used them. They'll never. Said they have never been used. And he just thought that was highly unlikely. You built all these centrifuges just to pile them on the site and never use them. So he was highly suspect that a lot more was going on than what we were being told. That they had other facilities we didn't know about. They had equipment that claimed they weren't using, they were using, and on and on and on. So what's all this mean? Israel has come out several times talking and trying to make the case that Iran was committing a big deception under the agreements of the treaty. Of course, that's Israel talking. Obviously, that's Israel. We expect them to say that. Well, it's also come out from IAEA officials. And now we're discovering they got this metal. The reason Israel is so sensitive about it, they may have a bunch of these sitting in their back porch that they could launch. It's really only, if somebody hits Haifa and Tel Aviv, Israel's done. I mean, most of their population's in two areas. They're done. They're finished. They're done. I mean, that's all it takes. 2 devices and Israel is gone. So it don't matter how many they have. If the other side's just got 2, they can, and if they can deliver them and set them off, Israel's done for. It's that simple. That's why Israel is so sensitive about this. So, and some people, believe that the Iranians believe that they have to have a nuclear war to bring out, at least some of them, to bring out the 12th Amman, for their prophecies to bring, Allah back and set up, the great kingdom. But I don't know how. Well, there are people in the party. It is an Islamic Republic. It is run by Ayatollahs. We all know that Ahmadinejad believed that stuff. He had been a previous president. He was also an engineer, by the way, Ahmadinejad. But he's not there now. So I don't know what their current state is in these areas, how true that is. I do know this. Most Iranians want a Western type lifestyle. Most Iranians don't want to live under the kind of regime they're living in. There's good people. Iranians are Persians, by the way. Actually, Hitler got them to agree to change the name of the country to Iran to evoke the fact that they were of Aryan descent. I would say, arguably, the Iranians, Persians, you a whole lot better make the case for them being of Aryan descent than other certain peoples that claim that. We do know they are Aryan. We also know Aryans went into India, but they mixed with local indigenous people too. So, yeah, whatever that's not worth. Look, there's good and bad people anywhere in the world. Good and bad people come in all colors, shapes, forms, sizes, creeds, religions. You can find them in any village, tribe, city, nation. Good and bad people. People with good hearts, good minds, hardworking people give you the shirt off their back. So I'm not talking down any peoples in the world, but the governments are a different matter. If we could just, somehow get things back and return the power to the people in this world in some fashion, without all these egos and power plays and stuff, I think some people think the way you get rid of all this, have one world government, just one government. Then there won't be no more wars. Bet there'll still be wars, but then you got nowhere to go. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That would evolve into the most horrendous thing you could imagine, because that would be the ultimate absolute power. I think we can have a grassroots governance system in this world one day that will get around all that. But for now, we've got a few other things to deal with. So think about this. We are at risk here. This could boil over. That's why you need to prep. That's why you need to get ready. Other than that, this is not a situation we've got a lot of power control over. This is kind of between Israel and Iran more than anything right now. We're playing a part in it because we got sanctions. We're dealing in it. Why? Because we support Israel. Why? That's another whole set of arguments. I'm not even going there because that's very contentious. But I would prefer the United States to be out of everything. Iran is probably not a country that's going to run us over, but it could take out our grid and that would destroy us. That would absolutely destroy us. On the other hand, so can some other countries take out our grid. We might not even know who did it. That's the scary thing. The other thing is that right now, the big gorilla in the room, the 900,000 ton gorilla, is China. 900 trillion ton gorilla. That's the one we got to pay more attention to. We're going to have to deal with China one way or another for decades to come. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be maybe the most challenging thing America, the Western civilization, has ever faced in its history. I'm talking about back when they fought the Persians, originally back in the days of Greek Empire, the Greek city-states. Our biggest challenge known to Western civilization today is China. We'll talk about that more. We talked about it quite a bit. How we manage that and stay out of Thucydides' trap that would bring us war that could end mankind is going to be a real pickle. We'll talk about it some more. Hopefully we can find a way to peace. War is a horrible answer, especially with another nuclear power. Yeah, it's not pretty. There's no pretty picture with that. It's also no pretty picture of letting them just take us over either. You see what I'm saying? How to be resolute, free, and not get roasted. So we'll talk about that more in the future. That's going to be a pickle. Now, another thing, I'm probably going to split these kind of conversations and these kind of shows off from Green Greg, because I'm probably going to create a new channel. Because the gardening, prepping, well, this is prepping, but the gardening worm farm and the prepping, what's going on in the world news, I probably need to separate these. Tell me what you think about that in the notes below. I think one side don't like me doing, the side that's coming here for the prepping don't like the gardening videos and the worm videos. The sides that come here for that don't like these videos. So I really think I need to split these two apart. Besides that, the algorithms don't know how to handle my videos. I don't know who to send them to. Because the algorithms don't know if it's a worm video or a prepping video or what's going on in the world video. So they don't know what to do in my videos. It's hurting my channel quite a bit. So I probably do need to split them apart. I gotta think about how to do that and how much damage it's going to. It's going to hurt my channels initially if I do that. But let me know what you think on that. And so I know you watched it all the way to the point. Said, Greg, I'm gonna keep my eyes wide open and head on the swivel because that's what I tell you need to do. That's the biggest thing you need to do in this world today with all this stuff going on. And I'm trying to help you with that. But you got to remember this proposition in my channel to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. I want to talk about this hive tech arms race going on again soon. The hive part. A lot of hive news going on. A lot of other stuff. Man, there's so much stuff coming at us. It's incredible. Not in a good way. So, with all that said, thank you everyone for watching.